All right, hey there, fellow coder. Welcome to this next installment in our series where we are building a real-world web app from scratch, leveraging React for the front end and Spring Boot via Java for the back end, as well as a MySQL database. So in this one, if you haven't seen any of the other videos in the series, I'd strongly recommend going through the playlist that's available probably somewhere below here. If you're up to speed, great. In this one, we're going to be talking about a little bug that I found in our code that actually needed a bit of a complex fix. And this is a bit of a React quirk with respect to useEffect hooks and whatnot. But basically, we want to be able to track the old state of a particular variable once the variable is updated so that we can check and see what is the old state versus the new state and what is the difference between them. And if a certain thing is different, then I want to perform an action. Okay, so believe it or not, this becomes a problem, I'm sure, at some point in your journey with dealing with React. I've run into this before, so for sure this is a very, very important thing to understand about React. So I strongly recommend you stay tuned and watch the rest of this episode. So let's do it. All right, let's dive into it. So we want to leverage this useRef hook, but first I'll paint more of the picture again. So basically the background here is that when we set new state in React via a setter function from the useEffect hook, it's not immediate. So you've seen me do this before. For this particular assignment, we have, or project, we have the assignment and set assignment as state. Assignment is the getter, set assignment is the setter method, and anytime we want to update the state for the assignment, we leverage the set assignment function and pass in some new state for it to set. But when we do that, when we execute that line of code, the set assignment, if you go just below that and then try to look at the state of the assignment, you'll see it doesn't look like it's updated. And that's because it's asynchronous, right? So this asynchronous coding concept comes to bite us in the butt again. So this asynchronous behavior, as you see, will sometimes cause issues with the workflow because of what I just explained. So normally we would just utilize a useEffect hook. So if you have a useEffect hook, you can set a dependency on the useEffect hook. The dependency essentially will trigger that useEffect hook. In other words, it'll trigger the execution of that function inside of the useEffect hook. It'll trigger the function anytime something changes on a given dependency or dependencies. So in this case, it would be like you plug in the assignment, and anytime the assignment changes, anytime the state changes, you can execute a function, right? But that's not necessary. That works sometimes, and for most cases, that's okay. But for this use case, we want to be able to, do I have more, I have workflow, yeah. We want to be able to do something special. So we can leverage the useRef hook, I should say, to actually track our changes between states. So we can inspect the old state versus the new state after that set assignment hook, set assignment useEffect hook has completed running. So then we can decide if we want to or don't want to execute a function. Okay, so our specific use case is that we only want to save our assignment to the database once someone clicks a save button and our status has finished updating. Okay, because what happens here is when a student submits an assignment, the status should update. They're saying, hey, I want to change the status from needs to be submitted or pending submission to they click the button, now I want it to be submitted. But when you click that button, I try to set the status, so update the status to be a new state in the assignment, and then fire that new state over to my backend so that it updates the database. However, like I just said, when you set the assignment with that new status, instead of pending update to go to, submitted, pending submission to submitted, when they click that button, you update that and then send it to the backend, but the problem is the backend gets the old state because it is asynchronous. So it's like we need to wait. We want to wait until after the status has been updated, and then we want to fire our save method. However, there was just no simple way to do that unless you use this useRef hook as well. So having said that, now that you're filled in, let's dive into the code itself. So here's our assignment, and I can recreate this bug. I said before, oh, it looks like it's working exactly like I want it to work, and I have no idea why. Well, I was wrong. It is not working like we want it to work, and I had no idea why. So here's an example. So we have an assignment. We can say, hey, I want this to be like assignment 1. It says, boom, pending submission. We can have some sort of GitHub URL, you know, something 123 with a branch like main, whatever. And when I submit the assignment, this should change from pending submission to submitted, right? And as you can see, it does very briefly, right? It goes to submitted and then goes back to pending submission. Submitted, right? So what's happening there is the UI is being updated with the submitted status because we are doing it. In our code, we are changing it here. So when you click the save button, it goes into this code and it updates the assignment with the new status being a status in our, you know, enum list array of statuses. So that's why we briefly see it go to submitted, right? We can see it. I can see it's tantalizing. It's right there. But what happens is it updates the view, but then it hasn't actually changed the status in time for the assignment, and then we fire it right here to the back end. So here's the assignment that we're firing to the back end, but the back end does not receive that updated status. So it gets the old pending submission status. So when you debug this on the back end in this URL endpoint, you will see that it is going to save to the database the pending submission value. And when it saves the pending submission value back into the database, it returns the data that it had just saved in the back end back to the front end. This way we can make sure that whatever happens in the back end is in sync with the front end. We want to make sure that those are never out of sync. So we do that with the .then, right? So after we saved the information, then we update our assignment again by saying set assignment to be the data that we just got from the back end. In other words, it turns back into pending submission because that's what we sent to the database, right? So that's the workflow. We hit save, it briefly updates the view here, and we see that update, and then the database comes back and blows away our old data with what is actually stored in the database, hence our bug. Cool. So how do we fix this, right? This can be frustrating. Thankfully, this is a fairly common thing. There's plenty of literature on the internet about this, but hey, everyone loves a good video from your friendly neighborhood coder. So how do you do this? Well, you can do the useRef. Okay, useRef is built into React, so we can import it from React. It's just, you know, from React right here, useRef. It's another hook, just like useEffect. And what we can do is we can set the current state of the useRef value. It's kind of like saying useState. So you want to say, hey, the value of useRef is sort of the current value, which is going to be from here, right? So at first glance, at first load, these two things will be exactly identical, which is kind of weird because it's like, you know, what? Shouldn't they be out of sync? Although I could be lying. Maybe assignment will be null here, but I don't believe it will be. And we can assign this to a value, a variable like, you know, previous assignment value or something like that. Or we can say previous assignment. Yeah, sure, whatever. Call it whatever you like. So we have the previous assignment value, right? Well, now how do we've got this new variable and via this useRef, and let's take a look at it. Let's take a peek at it. Previous assignment value, save that, and we'll bring up our console and refresh. So this is what the current, so the way useRef works is it has a current, let me just make this a bit bigger. It has this current, so you'll see in a moment what that's all about. But as you can see, branch, GitHub URL, number, and status are all the same as we set here. So as I expected, it's just exactly identical. Not really the previous state. Technically, the previous state would kind of be like null-ish, but maybe not, because the previous state when you first load and the current state are the same. What gets out of whack is when you click the submit assignment button, then it all gets out of whack, right? So how can we keep this, previous assignment value in sync, sort of. Slightly out of sync, I guess. And that is, oh, by the way, we don't need this. I thought this was going to work. I did this in the previous lesson to make this function asynchronous, but and awaiting the set assignment, but that didn't work. So that's just noise for code, so I'm going to remove that code. And what I want to do instead is I want to leverage that useEffect hook, like I said. Most times, you can leverage a useEffect hook to fire off a function based on a dependency. Okay, again, useEffect hook fires off this function based on this dependency. So when assignment changes, every time assignment changes, it's going to fire this method. It's going to invoke the method or call the method, whatever word you want to use. We can say, hey, let's get the two things. So we'll do the value of the previous value of assignment is, and we'll do previous assignment value, and then we can do another console log and say, you know, current value of assignment, and that's going to be a confusing word to use, but anyway, we'll get there, is assignment. So if I save this, you'll see, and clear things and refresh, you'll see previous value of assignment is this current, and the current value is empty, and then the previous value of the assignment is still empty, and the current value of the assignment now has stuff in it, pending submission, GitHub URL, blah, 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 right? So this is now correct. The previous value of the assignment is the one it was when we initialized the application. And the current value is this one right here. So this is looking good. We now have access to both of these things. And if I change, like let me change the something to be 4, previous value of assignment is, incorrect. It's still the one that we had when we first loaded the screen. And the current value, the new value, maybe I'll rename this to new value so it's a little bit less confusing, has the 1, 2, 3, 4, which I just added a 4 here, which is why this current value is up to date. Let me change this from current to new value. Just stick with me, because to get access to the useRef value, it's .current, which is a bit confusing in my opinion. Let me just show you again what I'm talking about. So let me refresh the page. So we can see now, you know, previous value is that, new value is this. Now, if I add a 4, like I said, the previous value is now incorrect. It should be the one that has something 1, 2, 3, because that's what the state just was. So how do we fix this part? Well, that's where in the useEffect hook, you can just say the previous value is this, is the previous assignment value .current, and then you just override it. Previous value .current equals assignment. Right? So that way you're able to, before you run this code, you're able to get the true previous value, and then you just update the previous value to be the current value. And then this just, you know, has the current value. So let me save this code and show you that this is working now. Refresh the screen. So previous and new, that's it. Okay, that makes sense. And then let's add a 4. Let's clear this, and then add a 4. Now it says previous value is 1, 2, 3, and the new value is 1, 2, 3, 4. Hallelujah. So now we have this mechanism in place with the useEffect or useRef hook, along with this one line where we keep this useRef, this variable that's assigned to useRef. We just update it ourselves like this. So now that we have this in place, now we can start doing something more custom, which is fixing the bug that I want to fix, which is when the statuses are not equal to each other, then we fire off the save. Okay, so I'm going to take this code out of the save method, cut. When someone clicks on save, we still want to save. That's just going to have to happen anyway. But here we can intercept, where is it? Here above this line, we can say, hey, if the previous, you know, value .current.status is not equal to the current, the actual assignment's status, right? If these two do not equal each other, then we want to kick off another save, essentially. And really, we're copy pasting this, so we should, you know, well, maybe I just call save again. Save. Okay, so we're going to kick off another save when the statuses are not equal to each other. All right, so let me get rid of these console logs here, and it's complaining. It's saying it wants more dependencies. What other? Oh, it wants me to add the save dependency in here. I guess we can add that. How do we do that? Like this? What else does it want? Oh, but then it would have to be part of this, I think. If you do quick fix. Yeah, then this would need to be moved into the useEffect hook, and I don't really want to do that, so it's okay to not have it in there. So the point is, when the statuses are not equal, if assignment has updated and the statuses are not equal to each other, they've changed, the previous and the current are different, that means we probably need to invoke one more save, which is the root cause of this problem. So not only refresh the page, I don't think I have to refresh, but I will. And then in here, pending submission, now when I click on submit assignment, it should change to submitted and then stay as submitted, right? Let's see what happens. Click, nothing happens. Lovely. I love a good demo fail. It definitely did something. So let me just debug, submit, and see. The assignment status is still pending submission, so I have messed up somewhere and I've not actually updated the status. Where was the code that did that? I think I had, hold on, let me undo some stuff. Was it up here? Maybe it wasn't up here. I had maybe added that before. Oh, here it is. I need to do this update. Right? I need to do the update. Yes, exactly. So if I essentially need this code. Oh shoot, and now I can't. All right, whatever. I was gonna redo everything everything I undid, but anyway, that's okay. So I can say, hey, if the previous ref whatever current dot status is not equal to the assignment status, right? So if they're out of sync, right? Then equals assignment. If these are out of sync, and like in other words, if that's what's changed, we need to. I thought we already did this update though. Didn't we already do this update? No, we want to do this. Code does need to be in the save, right? If the statuses are different and we've clicked the save button, we want to update the assignment, right? I guess we could say else because we don't want to kick off the save just yet, right? So if the statuses aren't, or if the status is the first status, so if the current status of the assignment is pending submission, and I've just clicked on the save button, I want to update that status to be something else, which is the next status, which is submitted. But then I don't want to kick off a save because that'll just be a waste of saving. Instead, it's going to go into the useEffect hook and it's going to say, hey, if those statuses are different, then we want to execute the AJAX, right? And here's where we're copy pasting, so we really should have some sort of a method for, you know, we can call it like persist or something, even though save is a, you know, not a great word, because save and persist mean like the same thing. So we'll call this, we'll have to rename it. So we'll say persist, right? And then here we can also say persist, right? So we're kind of refactoring that code a little bit. Boom. So persist. Otherwise, you know, if those values are the same, if they're identical, then don't worry about it. We don't need to save again. We don't need to persist anything. Okay? So let's try again. Submit assignment. So pending submission should change to submitted and stay as submitted. Cross your fingers. Ta-da! So status stays as submitted, and then if I refresh the screen, everything breaks. No, because it hit my debug method. Let me go back. Is it stuck in a... Well, come on now, ladies and gentlemen. What is going on? Pending submission. So when I click save, the new value, it says submitted. And I see an update here. So, okay, now it's submitted. Was that just a weird one-off bug? It could have been a weird one-off bug because I didn't refresh the page. Sometimes that happens, which is annoying. Let me go back. Can I go back to the dashboard, or is it? Yeah. So let me look back to the dashboard, submit another assignment. So this one's pending submission. We'll call this assignment 4. We'll say, you know, something 4 and main 4 and say submit assignment. Now it says submitted. If I refresh this page, it stays as submitted. Okay, so that was probably a refresh. I had to force a refresh for the code to be correct. So there we go. That is how you leverage this whole concept of executing a function based off of previous state versus current state. You do it via useRef here. So you grab the state that you want to be managing, assign it to a value, and then as part of a useEffect hook, you use this as a dependency. Whatever you've set here should be the dependency, which we have right here. useEffect has that as the dependency. And then we do this check to say, hey, or sorry, we do whatever we want to do beforehand, and don't forget to update the .current to be the actual current, you know, new value of assignment. But the code you want to do to check to see if they're at a sync, to see what specifically has changed between the old state and the new state, you want to do that check before you blow away the .current variable. So as soon as you blow away the .current variable, then they are going to be, you know, the same, so to speak. So make sure you do your code before then. At least I believe you have to do your code before then. Let me get rid of the console log statements here to clean up our code a little. Do we have any other console logs? Yeah, we have it here. And where else can we clean up some console log? Here. There. That will get rid of some of the noise in the in the console. Cool. So there's only one more little bug here I just want to get out of the way. Assignment view. So in here we have a problem with the here, .map. So the drop-down items, we use event key, but it's saying we're missing the key prop. Anytime we have a .map, we should also assign a key prop, which we can probably just assign to be the exact same thing. I think that's okay. The assignment enums, these will all be unique. Assignment num will be unique here. So then we can refresh this page and see if that warning went away. Yes, it did. There we go. Cool. And if I submit the assignment again, does anything go wrong? I don't think so. If I say, you know, 4 and then 4 and submit assignment, nothing breaks. Cool. There you go. So hopefully that was of use to you. Hopefully that helped to dispel some of the confusion around how the heck you solve this problem. It's a little bit wordy. Again, I'm not a huge fan of this particular quirk of React, but overall, you know, the good outweighs the bad here with React. So hopefully that was of use to you. If you enjoy this kind of content, feel free to subscribe above. You'll see my little face in there or something, a little circle where you can click and subscribe. It is free for you to do so, and you will obviously get more content just like this delivered to you. Also, be sure to like the video if you've made it all the way to here, and I have not annoyed you. Please be sure to click the like button. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. You've heard it all before. You're an expert with YouTube by now. So thank you so much for watching. As always, take care of yourself. Happy learning, and bye for now.